Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Learning Bank launch. Yumi, hamamas na celebrate. Wonderful to be with you again with my beautiful and amazing friends, Mehdi and Kathy. We've actually got a bunch of other friends joining us today as well, and we'll get to them shortly. It's fabulous to be able to see that a bunch of you already are online. So hello, Pom Nats. Great to see you here. We've got Chris here, Chris up in Queensland and his team. We've got Passama here. We've got Gumini, I think. We've got a bunch of you in here, which is awesome. And from O'Loughlin and Darwin as well. Hello, Joanne. So excited for you to be here. So excited to share with you. So just as we always do, it's a really important thing for us is when we are starting off any of our sessions, we want to just briefly introduce your host, which I've just done. Obviously, you all know Mehdi and Kathy. We're looking good on these photos, I think. They're looking really up and bouncy. Not feeling it quite so much in lockdown Melbourne, but that's okay. And what we would like to do, though, is just to spend a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we're meeting on here for us in Australia. For Kathy and I, we're on Wurundjeri land of the Eastern Kulin Nations, and for those of you in Darwin and up in Queensland, we'd love you to take a moment to think about the traditional custodians of the lands upon which you are meeting this evening. And I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging of all the Indigenous peoples around Australia. And obviously, as ever, to acknowledge all of you for being with us this afternoon, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in Papua New Guinea, whether you're halfway up a mountain, which we know some of our friends are joining us here, or whether you are in the comfort of your own home. It's always such a pleasure to spend time with you. Please remember to put stuff in the chat, which you've already started doing. Keep communicating with us and asking questions and telling us how things are going. And we're going to ask you to do that in a little bit of a more structured fashion towards the end of this call. But as is a really important part of any professional learning and any professional gathering in Papua New Guinea, is we are going to start with an opening prayer. So I'm going to pass across to my wonderful friend Mehdi to kick that off for us.
Thank you, Chris, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have you here this afternoon. So as usual, I shall lead us with a short word of prayer to begin our program this afternoon. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We thank you that we can celebrate again this afternoon the things that we have achieved over the past months and to share what we have planned for the future moving forward. We thank you for all the participants that are here with us and pray that, Lord, your Holy Spirit will guide us through as we share and celebrate this afternoon. Thank you, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mehdi. Always a wonderful way for us to start our gatherings together. So I am going to just very briefly mention, I'm not going to give you a lot of detail, but we have some special guests this afternoon. We're super excited to have three friends who are coming to join us. We have Leanne Robertson from Education Services Australia, who's going to share some wonderful resources with you. We have Suan Yeo from Google in Sydney, who's going to also share some resources with you. And we're really privileged to have Mary James from the Australian High Commission, who's going to come and share some words with us as well towards the end of the call. So we'll do the more formal introductions, and Kathy's going to do that in a little while. But I did just want to mention that we're very excited to have some wonderful guests. We are going to ask you, please, if that's all right, to nominate yourself a keyboard captain. So as we know, a lot of us are in a situation where we might be a number of people around a computer or around a device, and they're in a group. So we would love someone who's maybe going to be the keyboard captain, who's going to be in charge of that keyboard and keep putting those chats in. And already we've got the chat buzzing. So great to see. I'll just bring in a couple more people before we get moving on. Great to see Carly again. Thank you so much for joining us. And great to see Dan and the team from Bundy High. Lovely to see you as well. So we've got all of our friends from PNG and our friends from Australia with us. So I'm going to, which is very hard for me, as you know, Kathy, I'm going to shut up for a little while now, and I'm going to pass on to my amazing friend, Kathy Kirby, who is going to take us through the next little section of this, and I will see you all in a little while.
Thanks very much, Chris. It's fantastic to be here. I always get really excited when we see all of our friends from PNG and Australia, and welcome also to our three guests, Mary, Leanne and Suan today. So we wanted to start this meeting with an update on Project Wash W, which has been extraordinary work, and how fitting it is that it's actually Global Hand Washing Day today. UNICEF in PNG told us that there were 100,000 PNG students today from 250 schools who at 12 noon took part in a nationwide synchronized hand washing activity for 20 seconds. So I don't know if any of you were part of that. If you were, let us know in the chat. I would have loved to have seen that across the country. It would have been fantastic. If you were reading the WhatsApp WhatsApp group today, you would have just been incredibly impressed by all of the recent updates about Project Wash W. At our last online meeting, we had quite a number of Australian and PNG schools give us an update and a presentation on their project. So impressive, in fact, that our international water aid guest, Paul Rays, said it was like being at an international conference, seeing a whole lot of extraordinary solutions to real-life problems being designed by students at PNG and Australian schools. So congratulations to all of those presentations we had. But there's more work that's been happening here. That great work has been continuing. So congratulations to St. Gabriel's, Wawan, Gamini and Andatale, who have all given us recent updates in our Google Classroom. Please keep them coming. We love the videos and the pictures, and we're putting up some here to share them with you right now. For those schools who haven't done so, we hope that you'll make a short video presentation of your project. So just highlight the challenge being addressed and the solution you designed. If you have a moment, have a look at the rich number of videos and images and pictures and stories sent around today in the WhatsApp group, particularly from Ayura, Passam, Saguri, Keravash, all showcasing their work on their Project Wash W project. I just love Sagari. I love your BioShade project, where you've looked at waste that you had and how you could recycle it. And there's an image there on the screen. You're using waste like plastic bottles, fish tin cans, juice cups to make decorative screens that provide shade for you and just make you feel good sitting and learning under that shade and keeping cool. Passam students shared with us today an initiative where they've actually they've already done this. They've assessed a problem with the location of their rubbish dump, that it was impacting on people further down the valley, and they've relocated it and they've put in a new burner for paper and plastics. So congratulations to your team too. It's just really fantastic to see so many teachers and students using human design thinking, that work that we've all done together in their classrooms to solve these real life problems around them. It's been absolutely brilliant to see the development of those essential capabilities that we've spoken so much about. Things like leadership, teamwork and collaboration, creativity, critical thinking and communication. Building those student capabilities and designing solutions to real-world problems are two really important things that bring together Australian and PNG schools. They're really important to all of us, and Project Wash W has so demonstrated all of the world-class work that you're all doing in this area. So please just take a moment to pat yourselves on the back and give yourselves a round of applause right now for that amazing work. that you've all been doing. And watch this space. I think the next time we meet, we're going to have a little video compilation of all those Project Wash W initiatives that we've seen in our schools, just so we can capture it for posterity and put it on our website. So Project WASH was our second school partnership digital initiative this year. Who can forget the amazing Talk Story Belong COVID-19 that we did earlier on in the year? Under really hard conditions of lockdown and social distancing in all of our schools and communities, you all wrote amazing songs and performed them. You wrote powerful poetry, you made films, and you captured what was happening in your community by beautiful artwork. Many of you have just come off a meeting today, I know, with Anna, through the extraordinary work online that you're doing with the Leading Learning initiative and the professional learning there. And it's just always so inspiring to see the dialogue and communication about that coming out of the Google Classroom and through WhatsApp. So congratulations to everybody there. We've just really been inspired by your work. We're so inspired that we've now developed a new set of activities to take us through into 2021. In planning forward this time, we had a lot more to go on because we know that you're now all experts at coming together online, that you're experts at using an online classroom, that you're experts at communicating with each other through WhatsApp and other devices, and you've really mastered all of the big challenges that you've got with connectivity and data and so on. So that just really opened up our opportunity for what we can all keep on doing together over the next 6 months or so. We've just come such a long way in a short time this year, and it's been due to you and your commitment and dedication and active engagement. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that, for really making it work. We also we've been noting how PNG teachers have been working with their cluster schools. They've been passing on the learning, providing professional development for teachers in schools nearby, and it's been great to see that. It's been fantastic to see school partnerships between PNG and Australia growing with regular online meetings and the sort of collaborations that we saw in Project Wash W and Talk Story Belong, and in the major projects that you've all been working on over the last year. Thank you also for giving us your ideas about what you wanted to do together in the next 6 or 7 months. So we sent around a survey to see what had worked for you, what hadn't worked so well, what sort of skills that you wanted to build up going into the future, what things work well with your students, and your ideas too. Even better if, one of our stock questions, how can we make it even better? So thank you very much. A lot of people responded to that survey. So what you asked us to do was think about initiatives that would provide new opportunities for school partnerships to work together, new opportunities to continue to build up your digital skills, student agency and voice, student-centred learning, and new opportunities to access relevant teaching and learning resources for PNG, particularly in the area of STEM and girls' education, English and student-centred learning. So that was our brief, and that's what we set out to do. And we've planned quite a number of activities for this time, most of them bar one, which we're going to talk about in a moment, starting early in the new year. So we're going to have a number of whole of cohort projects again next year. We're going to start off with Windows on the World. It's a way that you can let us see what you see every day, and we can join a global movement, people using mobile phones to share their view of the world with others. We're also planning Talk Story Yumi, away we'll see students in each partnership interview people in their community, analyse and present stories from those interviews with a focus on their identity now and into the future. We've got some fantastic new school partnership collaborative projects. I'll just give you a little taster. There's one on sharing traditional stories between PNG and Australia. And there's another one we've called Student Pulse Check. It's actually a data science project where students in each partner school will have the opportunity to collaborate, to develop, conduct and analyse a survey about a student voice theme and, of course, communicate the results to all of us. There's a new initiative. We've had Leading Learning with Anna that's been going on for the last 6 months, and that's just been so successful. We've planned some new professional learning to occur next year. We've got 3 programs planned at the moment, but I think there's more to come. We're going to work together to build an essential pedagogies toolkit. We're going to have professional learning on creating your own online classroom of the sort that we've established for this project. And thanks to Google, we're going to provide you with the opportunity, both Australian and PNG teachers, to become a certified Google educator. And that's a professional learning program that you will do and then become accredited. But today, Chris, we're launching our latest new initiative, which we've just got online today, and that's the PNGAus Learning Bank. So can I pass over to you to tell us a little bit about the Learning Bank?
Thanks, Kathy. It just blows my mind just when you go back through the list of all the amazing stuff that the teams have done so far, especially in this digital space. Like I actually believe that the PNGAus partnerships are probably cutting edge in the digital learning space in what they're being able to achieve. So well done, everyone. Really does blow my mind. I'm going to take you on a really quick kind of whistle-top tour around a resource that we've built for you called Learning Bank. And what we know is that we got a lot of feedback from schools saying that they would love to have more resources and more kind of focused areas around our project and lots more ideas around things that they could do. And our 2 special guests who we're going to get to in probably just 3 or 4 minutes are going to highlight a couple of resources for us. But what I'm going to do is show you where all of this stuff is now living. So hopefully you're all au fait with the past website. You've been on there before. You've seen all of the awesome stuff from Anna and the Leading Learning, all of the project things. We've used it for Project Wash and for the Talk Story Belong, COVID-19. But you will see, as of today, we just unlocked it. There is a new section in here, which is looking at Learning Bank. So basically bringing together a bunch of fantastic resources for you, in both our Australian teachers and our PNG teachers. Now, we like to think of this as building an aeroplane while we're flying it. So you will find that the Learning Bank isn't a finished product. It is, in fact, a collaborative project between all of us. And so what we've done as a team, and I want to just I know all of you know Emmeline, and she's in the chat. She's hidden away at the moment, but Emmeline's done a bunch of really fantastic work on the website and bringing together resources. But what you'll find is that we've got a little new section to our website, which has a bunch of really great stuff in it, including on the first page, the Learning Bank page. You can go and see teaching learning resources. You might want some inspiration, a little bit bigger for us, some inspiration. You might want some professional learning resources. I'm going to take you there in just a moment. But on the first page of Learning Bank, what you'll find is we have some resource highlights. So every few weeks, we'll actually change up and we'll highlight some different resources for you. The 2 that we're super excited to highlight today and to share is the Girls in STEM Toolkit, which Leanne's going to talk about soon, and also CS First from Google, which is one of the coding applications that Suan is going to talk about. Now, when we said it was a collaborative project, we weren't kidding. So what we've got in on this page as well is a Google form. And what we would love you to do is, if you find a really great resource, which you think everyone could use and find it really useful, please put a link to the resource in this form. if you can, tell us what kind of category you think it might fall under. And as you scroll down and submit that, and then what will happen is there is a magical spreadsheet, which I'll show you. There you go. A magical spreadsheet at the back, which will collect this resource, and we will then put that onto the site for you. Now, you can access all of these resources in two ways. The first way, which I showed you, was to just click through the buttons, which is a kind of more traditional approach in a website, and it will take you to kind of explore different areas. The other way is, as you scroll down, you'll see we have a kind of a resource search function as well. So you'll see that we've got a bunch of resources in here, and we're adding more and more every day. And for example, if you were looking for something about leading learning, and you wanted to look at the leading learning course with Anna, you might want to go there. If you're looking for some science curriculum things, we've been really kind of selective to make sure that although some of the things are very much online, there are also lots of options to find offline resources as well. So you can kind of look at these cards, but you can also filter them. So you might want to go, for example, and look at teaching and learning, and that'll filter these cards down to just some teaching and learning cards. And then you might want to look at categories and look for something like STEM. There we go. And that'll filter down again to some more cards. And all of these are linked. If you want, there's a little bit more of information on the other side, but not a huge amount. And then you can click here to visit. So one way you can, if you're looking for something specific, is to kind of go through and use the resource search engine here. You can also search for text in particular. So if you were looking for science, then you can type that in and it'll filter it down to some science for you as well. So that's one way in. The other way in, as I mentioned before, is you've got navigation at the top of this first page. You've also got navigation up on the very top menu. But if, for example, we were to go to teaching and learning resources, I'll just show you a couple of really quick examples. Our friends, and Leanne is one of our amazing friends from Education Services Australia. Scootle is normally an Australian only resource, and it's for Australian teachers to log in. Scootle has been made open, so there's a bunch of amazing resources on Scootle. It's been made open to teachers, and we've talked to ESA, and they're really happy for our PNG teachers to use this as well, which is absolutely brilliant. And so as you log into Scootle, you'll see there is a login as guest button, and you can log in as a guest and explore their resources. Now, if you wanted to maybe explore some STEM resources, you can click on the STEM button up here. And we've got, again, some brilliant resources from ESA. We've got some wonderful resources from Cool Australia. You might want to go and look at technology resources. You can click on there. We've got some Computer Science Unplugged. We've got the Digital Technologies Hub, coding, et cetera, et cetera. But if you wanted to look at, for example, something under professional, I'll show you inspiration really quickly. If you wanted to look at some inspiration, we've got educational TED Talks. We've got some brilliant videos from The Kids Should See This, which is a wonderful collection of resources. And we've also got a wonderful report by Sean Dorney, who many of you will know. And then finally, the last section, I'm just checking my time, make sure I'm not going on too much. Under professional learning resources, you'll see that we've got a bunch of stuff under things like under leadership and teaching practice. So under teaching practice, for example, we've got the learner-centered pedagogies through project-based learning resources that some of you participated in earlier this year in the course. We've got information about gender equity in schools in PNG. We've then got AEF, Asia Education Foundation's Intercultural Learning Framework and Intercultural Understanding Toolkit. And then as we go back into professional learning, we've also got leadership, and leadership will take us to our very own leadership course with Anna, who so many of you know, and there's a bunch of resources. And we've also sourced, and this is really interesting for our Australian teachers as well, obviously as our PNG teachers, is we've sourced some of the National Department of Education frameworks and plans for Schools of Excellence and the National Education Plan. So there's some really wonderful resources in here that you can then explore. So we're really excited to do that. The main thing I want to ask you to do, though, is to make sure that we do make this a participative and collaborative project, and make sure you fill in that form if you've got some resources that you would like to share with us as well. So I'm going to stop there, Kathy, because I think we need to move on to our special guests.
Thanks very much, Chris. Well, these guests are so special that they're actually the people behind some of these resources. So we're really fortunate to have Leanne Robertson with us from ESA today, Education Services Australia, and Suan Yeo, who's the Head of Education for Australia and New Zealand with Google. So welcome, Suan, and welcome, Leanne. It's terrific to have the Learning Bank become live by having you here today, so thank you. Suan, I'm going to go to you first. You've actually you know this project quite well. You've been engaged with us for quite some time. Around about this time last year, all of the PNG and Australian students came and spent half a day at the Google offices in Melbourne, building their virtual school tours and taking amazing world journeys through global expeditions. And in May last year, you met many of the school principals who will be on our gathering today at your Google offices in Sydney with your partnership with the New South Wales Department of Education on the big STEM challenge that you did there. So it's fabulous to have you here today. You'll be very impressed to know what an amazing Google Classroom we've set up this year. And I'd like you, just in a moment, to tell us a little bit about some of the Google resources that are on the Learning Bank. But before you start, can I just ask all of our participants here, if you've got any questions for Suan about anything that he shows at all, can you put a question up in the chat? Because we will have just a small amount of time for Suan to answer some questions. So if you hear something and you want to know more about it, then please put a question in the chat and we'll track those. But over to you, Suan, to give us a little bit of an idea of what's in the Learning Bank. Thank you.
Thanks, Kath, and hello, everybody. It's so great to be a part of this group again. As Kath mentioned, I had the fortune of hosting your group both in Sydney and Melbourne, and if it weren't for COVID, I'm pretty sure we would have done it again this year. So maybe we'll take a rain check, but hopefully when restrictions are lifted, we'll be able to see one another in person again. As Kath mentioned, I look after education efforts for Google for Education, and this is our mission. Really, it's about transforming learning and teaching at scale. And today I'm going to share with you 3 different resources that you can use inside or outside of your classrooms. And these are taken specifically, from many of the organizations and schools that do use some of these applications globally. So I'll start off first with a program called CS First, CS First and Computer Science First. And really, this is a program, if you skip to the next slide, Chris, that's aimed at helping you teach computational thinking and computer science. There are sort of modules and projects that you can create, around different themes, and each theme creates, multiple lessons that can be tailored to your schedule. So you don't, whenever you're ready, whenever you have the group ready, you can apply some of these. And on the next slide, you see some of the subject areas and themes that I mentioned. So, find something that your students are interested in, that they're passionate about, to get them going, right? So it's not, when people think of computer science, they think of code and tech and really, geeking out. But there are many ways that you can teach computer science without necessarily having to learn JavaScript or C++ or any of the really complicated code. The next resource I want to share with you is something called CS Unplugged. And CS Unplugged, it's really a collection of fun and engaging activities that enable children to explore different fundamental areas without having to use a computer. Now, this is one of the challenges that a lot of schools and communities have. You might not be connected all the time, right? So how do I access some of these learning materials? How do I access some of these programs that require you to be connected a lot? So CS Unplugged, again, we'll share the links and the resources. They're all in the Learning Bank, as Chris demoed earlier. Around how do you teach, again, computer science without necessarily having an internet connection. The last thing I wanted to share was a product called YouTube Go. YouTube Go is a mobile app, and really, this is built for areas and geographic regions that don't have strong internet connectivity. And on the next slide, you can see some of the perks of how do you control, what you view, when you view it, how do you download, videos maybe to watch at a time when you don't have internet connection as well. So this is again another sort of free product that you can access. Obviously, if you're downloading videos, that could take data and cost as well. And then the last thing real quick, just to share with you, which I know many of you educators and teachers are looking at, is really our certification programs. And we've built, along with our global community and cohort of educators, different levels of certification. We call this distinguish yourself as an educator. So if you think you're a Google ninja and you've mastered all there is to learn about Google Classroom and all the different applications that you guys have been using, go ahead and get certified, right? And then you have this nice little badge or token, that you can place on your resume, on your website, on your blog, what have you. So we look forward to having a whole bunch of certified educators, both in PNG, but also definitely in Australia as well. And just to summarize, the four things I mentioned, again, we'll share all of these links. I'm pretty sure you'll put them in the learning bank. But beyond all of this, I just wanted to express my gratitude of being able to work with you and to extend a sort of unofficial welcome for those of you into the program, but also whenever restrictions lift, let's come visit us in one of our Google offices in Australia. Hopefully at a time that we can all be together again. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Suan. Just before you go, and I know that you do have to race off to another meeting, but can you just tell us a little bit, just give us a little picture of how you might become a Google certified educator? What sort of, you do it online, and what sort of things might you learn? Just give us a few ideas.
Yeah, so it's a self-paced, tests that you sit through. There are, again, when you think of a test, you think of, don't stress about it. There are learning programs and learning tutorials that you can go through beforehand as well, just to guide you along what needs to be, what you need to know before you take the test. And really, again, when you take the test, it's just about applying how you use, some of your skills within the Google portfolio, but also sharing how you use it in your classroom. How do you collaborate with your students? How do you collaborate with your fellow educators, right? Your peers? How do you collaborate on lesson plans? So there are multiple ways of sharing some of these ways of how you're using it. So there's no right or wrong. I mean, there is a right or wrong in terms of the test, but I think everyone's unique in the sense that you deliver. So then the different levels that you go get higher and higher, we've got the level 1 and level 2 certification. If you are a classroom teacher and you just want to get that certification, and then we've got the Google certified trainer as well if you are working and training other educators as well. So that requires an extra level of certification as well.
That's fantastic, Suan, and I should have made a note of the fact that you very kindly offered this opportunity to our PNGAus teachers here as part of this program. So I just really want to thank you very much for that. I think we might, that's fantastic. Actually, the other thing I wanted to underscore with people was YouTube Go, because data is a big issue for us in PNG. So YouTube Go is going to really revolutionize how we can download content off the web and share it using Bluetooth and other things that aren't going to require Wi-Fi. So there's a really great tip there, and encourage everybody to download that app on their devices and change their world.
Great.
Okay. Yeah.
Any questions in the? I think we're good. But again, if you think of questions later on, please, feel free. Both Chris and Kath know how to get in touch with me, so happy to answer questions at a later time as well.
Look, thank you very much, Suan. And I think once people have started exploring all of the resources here, there'll be a lot of questions, and we might get you back. Okay, so
we'll do that. I promise. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for coming today and for putting all those resources in our learning bank. It's just great. Really appreciate it. Okay, Leanne, Leanne is a program director at Education Services Australia. And Education Services Australia is a national organisation owned by all of our ministers of education, our state and federal ministers of education. And one of ESA's key roles, and there's a number, but one of them is to be a national hub for great teaching and learning resources. And Chris mentioned earlier Scootle, which is a big collaborative national Australian government initiative to collect the best teaching and learning resources around. But we've also really invested, Leanne, through ESA in a range of very particular learning resources. The Digital Technologies Hub and the Girls in STEM Toolkit are two of them. And you've worked really closely on managing those projects, as well as work that you've done with ABC Education and put on their fantastic education site too. So I wonder, Leanne, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about some of the ESA resources that we've got in the Learning Bank.
Yeah, I'd love to, Kathy. It's great to be here, so thanks very much for the invitation. I have been very fortunate to work on the Girls in STEM Toolkit. So the toolkit was made available with funding from the Australian government, and the goal was to increase STEM participation in both schools, but also to encourage girls to go on to university and pick up science, maths, engineering and technology for their career choices. So ESA is really happy to share this resource with schools from Papua New Guinea as part of the PNGAus Secondary Schools through the Learning Bank. The Learning Bank looks fabulous, and it's great to see so many free resources being added there. So I thought I'd just take some time to tell you about some of the things in the Girls in STEM Toolkit. It's quite big, but I'll give you a little bit of as a sample as we go. So on this next slide, at the start of our project, we conducted a literature review to have a look at what the barriers were for girls, and also to have a look at things that teachers could do in their classroom to make a positive impact in terms of their learning environment. So we developed these 7 principles for creating a gender inclusive learning environment. And I thought I'd tell you about a teacher I've been speaking to and about the experiences she's had. So Adele Hudson is the head of the science faculty in a school in the outskirts of Melbourne. And she worked with her team to redesign their middle school and senior school curriculum using some of the principles that were outlined in these 7 principles. Because what she noticed is that not only the number of girls taking those subjects, but students in general was dropping off. And as a science, well, first of all an engineer and then a science teacher, she was quite concerned about this. So they gave some focus to a couple of the different principles. They wanted to make sure that everybody got hands-on, so it was really great to see those projects you presented earlier, where it was very clear that students were getting their hands-on. That's really something that works with girls. And they also wanted to look at the embrace context and problem solving. So once again, there's a really nice connection with the projects that you showed earlier. So it looks like a lot of your schools are already on the journey, so it's really great to see. They found that basing student learning on big picture projects where students design their own solutions to problems inherently promoted a growth mindset, and found that both boys and girls with a range of learning abilities were able to find success. So it's pretty interesting to note that just by improving the environment for girls, you're not actually having a negative effect for boys. So it has a positive impact for both gender, which obviously is very important for all schools. So it was really exciting that Adele found that through the efforts that they'd made to change their curriculum, they had a significant increase in all students that were picking physics and chemistry in the upper years, but particularly with girls. So she has been thrilled with the success of that, obviously. So on the next slide, ESA was pretty excited by the 7 principles and the sort of enthusiasm that had been built around them. And so we undertook some further research with the University of Adelaide, and the timing's quite nice because this this slide that you'll see here, and I've put a little bit.ly there in case people want a shortcut to this guide. It's taking those principles further and it's showing the evidence base behind the principles, but then it provides some practical hands-on things that teachers can do in their classroom. So you're welcome to go and take that guide and have a look and see how it works. So on the next slide, you'll see some images there of some extracurricular programs that Adele's implemented in her schools. So one of the programs, PNGAus, aim to increase girls' awareness of STEM careers. What research shows is that if people have a better awareness of the careers that are available to them at the end of their schooling journey, it's more likely that they might pursue them. So that's a brief look. There's a lot more resources in there. There's lesson plans. I know, or I'm pretty sure that you've been looking at elemental learning design. We love that approach and we've used that in the GIST lessons as well as the Digital Technologies Hub. There's posters about women in STEM careers and a whole range of other activities. So please do go and explore. Likewise, if anyone's got any questions, I'm very happy to be contacted. So please do touch base. There's my details, my email address there. And before we move on, I've just got a short video that features some of the recipients of the Prime Minister's Prizes for Science. And that's been put out by DISER, the Australian Government Department.
I love science because it's everywhere, it's in everything. I can find science in any situation.
Children are born scientists and it's my job to help them harness that curiosity and exercise it in all areas of their lives.
STEM learning is vital because it builds creativity, it builds capability and resilience, and it shows the students that learning doesn't occur just in silos, that everything is connected.
It helps them think logically and critically. It makes them confident problem solvers, almost like having a superpower.
One of the things I really love about working in science is that it enables me to satisfy my curiosity. I can dream up something that I want to know about and then think of an experiment to give me the answer.
What I love about mathematics is the way that it explains the world. It makes sense of the world. And as our technology advances and our world changes, the mathematical challenges are there and they continue on and on.
So what I love about science is that it's a continual discovery process, and the way that you thought something worked in a particular way, generally you find out that you're wrong half of the time.
Diversity in STEM is really important. We all have different backgrounds and different viewpoints that we bring to tackling a challenge, and that's vital in order to successfully solve any problem. The advice I would give to students wanting to pursue a career in science or STEM is to question everything, to get out there and do it, and don't let anything hold you back.
That's fantastic, Leanne. And I know that there's a whole lot of other video resources in that toolkit as well, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. There are. There's other videos, and we also make videos available through our social media channels as well. So if people are interested, they can connect with us in a range of ways.
Great. I can see in the chat that we've put some of the connections in there, but of course they'll be in the Learning Bank as well. And that's really just a tiny little taster of what's in the Learning Bank from ESA. Particularly, you've got a very big digital technologies hub, which I know our very own Chris Hart did some work on with you, and
That's right.
Lots of resources there. So can I just thank you very much for coming and meeting with us today and showing us the human face behind ESA's resources. And what we're going to do now, and Chris, you might like to come back on screen, and Medi, we're going to just have a little 2-minute break from talking, and we're going to ask you to do something. So this is your moment, keyboard captains, to take hold of those keyboards. What we're really keen to know now is, after you've heard what the Learning Bank is and you've seen some examples, can you all just give us an idea of some topic you really want to see a learning resource on, or some area of the curriculum that you find it really hard to find good resources about, or perhaps it's a year level, anything. If there's any area of your work that you'd like to see some resources on, now's one of your times to tell us. And we're just going to give you a full free 2 minutes to put into the chat here and give us some ideas about what you might like to put on there. And whilst you're doing it, I think, Chris, you and Medi and Leanne and I are just going to have a little bit of a chat here about what we'd like to see on there. But we'd love you to give us some ideas, because we will follow up on them and we'll go back into the Learning Bank. And also, some of you might have those resources that people are looking for. And a little bit further down the track, Chris, I think we're going to run some training for our Australian and Papua New Guinean teachers to be able to actually get into the Learning Bank and post some resources there. We're looking forward to that sharing that can happen through school partnerships. So I guess starting now, we're just going to pause for 2 minutes, and we really would love you to put your ideas up there. Just have a little chat to the person beside you or the group of people, and see if you can give us some ideas for what you'd like to see in the Learning Bank. Thank you.
So I guess my question then to either Kathy or Leanne or Midi, like what resource would you love to see in the Learning Bank? What would be really useful resources? And Leanne, I mean, you've had a ton of experience in this space of developing and sharing learning resources. What are the best kind of things you see?
Well, in the DT Hub, something that became sort of apparent quite quickly was that because it was a new curriculum, people weren't sure where to start. So we ended up developing a scope and sequence, and so people could sort of see the progression that children might take, and then we linked out to resources to support that sort of progression of learning. So that was something really useful. And I'm very lucky that I'm also working on the development of a maths hub now that the Australian government has funded recently. And so we're hoping to take a similar approach to that, because we're aware that particularly in primary schools, some teachers don't have the confidence yet to really develop their own materials. And so we're hoping to provide some really good resources, and that'll be available in December.
Brilliant. That's awesome. I'm just going to bring up, yes, we can. Just a couple of questions just to come up in the chat already. Joanne talks about maybe separating out some sections for the teachers and the students. Yep, absolutely. And we can do that in the Learning Bank. That's a great idea. I think the place for students to start, if they want to look at anything, is definitely on the inspiration section, because there's some wonderful websites there, and there's some really beautiful material out there. It really is quite inspiring. We've also got we've got a bunch of stuff on sustainability. I'm just going to swap my video down because I think I should be on the bottom.
So Marita is asking about, she's asking Leanne if GIST is actually a website, and is there a separate link to it?
Yeah, that's right, it is. And someone's just popped it into the chat there. So it's thegist.edu.au.
Perfect.
And within there, there's sort of lesson plans and posters you can download and all different kinds of resources.
Raphael's got some really great ideas here as well, Kathy.
Yeah, definitely.
So looking at those 21st century teaching pedagogies, which is what we've done so much work on, Raphael. It's great to see, you know, we can provide you with more and more of those resources. Love it. Absolutely brilliant. We do have sustainability. And Carly, I know that Carly's actually makes a really good comment about more creative, interactive, literacy-based resources. That's something that we know we're actually lacking in the, generally when we looked around to find some really great stuff. So if anyone has any of those ideas, please do jump onto the Learning Bank and fill in the form, which will then allow us to share those back through the Learning Bank as well. All right, I think our time is up on this one, Kathy.
Well,
some great stuff in there.
Just before we moved on, I was just going to see if Medi had an idea, whether she wanted to put on the table here. But take mute, Medi, yeah.
there's a whole range of fantastic resources that the two have presented, and I'm sure the Papua New Guinean teachers would really love and appreciate all that's being shared from both Leanne and Suan this afternoon. I think they will be in a better position to advise us as to the appropriate resources that they're in need of in the various schools. So, yeah, thanks.
That's great, Medi. Thanks for making that comment. I think probably, Chris, we're at the point now where I might pass over to Medi to take us through to the last part of our program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. So what's from here? Just a couple of reminders. As Katie mentioned earlier on, the schools and the partnerships are doing fantastic jobs around their Project WASH. We encourage you to continue with that and send us the updates of the projects that you are working on, either through WhatsApp or email or web transfer and the Google Classroom, the platforms that we are currently using for uploading some of the projects that you're working on. The school partnerships collaborative survey has been sent out. Please complete the survey and if applicable, share an artifact or a tangible outcome from the project that you're working on. Our past support team will continue to organize and facilitate meetings. We are encouraged by some of the recent meetings that have been taking place between schools, the partnerships in Australia and PNG, and there's some great sharing that's going on, and we will continue to facilitate that amongst our Australian and PNG schools. And Anna's Leading and Learning continues on every fortnight, as well as the collegiate conversations. Up next would be the next all cohort get together in mid to late November. A date is yet to be confirmed for the end of year celebration. But in the meantime, look out for our next Talk survey that's coming out. So that should be interesting, and some updates, further updates on the great things and fantastic things that you are doing. So that's for the updates. And I think up next now is, I'm pleased to hand it over to our first Secretary, Skills and Secondary Education, Mary James from the Australian High Commission in Port Moresby, to give a closing remark for this afternoon. Over to Mary.
Medi, I just noticed a message from Mary to say that her internet connectivity has suddenly gone, it's become very poor. And I think that's why we can't see her. And I hope we're going to be able to hear her. Here she comes.
Hi everyone, sorry about that. I just missed the last installation there, but hello everyone from Port Moresby. It's great to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me to join. It's been fabulous hearing about this new resource that you'll have access to. I hope you'll get online and really contribute to the resource bank. And I hope that there's loads of resources in there that will be of use to you in your classrooms. It's fantastic that you have access to some really premium stuff there that I think would be the envy of many teachers to be able to get their hands on and get involved in. So I guess I really did just want to thank Leanne coming in from Education Services Australia and talking us through that fantastic project GIST. And thank you also, Suan, from Google. We absolutely can't wait till we can be together again and take you up on that offer to pop in to Google. And And likewise, we can't wait to be together with all of you in PNG in Australia again. And hopefully I'll be able to get out and about and see you in your classrooms and in your communities. Would really love to highlight how amazing teachers have been this year. It's been a year like no other, and teachers have just done amazing things in holding things together in their communities and classrooms, and trying just to keep that connection to learning in the classroom. Of course, learning goes on all round, but obviously the classroom is such an important place for learning to happen. So thank you, all you teachers. Shout out to the teachers in Papua New Guinea and in Australia. Thank you so much. So I think that we are going to have a video about World Teachers Day next. Is that right, Kathy?
Absolutely, Mary. Thank you very much. And I think Chris is going to.
And so I'm not sure who's queuing it up.
That's me. I'm all over that, Mary. I'm in charge of clicking the buttons. So I just wanted to, before we do that, because we are going to end with that video, is just do a massive thank you to everyone. Some of you who didn't realize Anna was lurking in the background, we thought we'd bring her in as well just to say goodbye. A huge thanks to Leanne, a huge thanks to Suan as well, and particularly massive thanks to you, Mary, who I know you've struggled through a little bit of connectivity, but it was beautiful and wonderful to be able to see you and hear you right now. So I think what we would like to do, I think we traditionally end these calls with a really kind of cheesy wave before we set the video off. So we will wave to you guys who are watching this, and thank you so much. And we will see you again soon.
Great.
This World Teachers Day, join us in saying thank you to all the wonderful teachers in our school communities who have gone above and beyond to help our learning continue during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you for being resilient in the face of change.
Thank you for being creative in your online delivery.
Thank you for being supportive from a distance.
Thank you for being patient with my internet connection.
Thank you for being committed to our learning.
Thank you for being our teachers.
From all of us in Australia and PNG, wishing you a very happy World Teachers Day.
Happy World Teachers Day.